Dajahao, guten Morgen, marhaban, privyet, saluton, salvete, kairete, kalimera, and whatever. I am Cesco Reale. I am one of the co-organizers of this event since the very first edition. I don't know if you can see my T-shirt from the first year, 2014, in Berlin. And I am also representative of the World Esperanto Association at the United Nations. So today I'm going to present a project that is called KomunIKON, an iconic language beyond emoji for the social networks of the future. I apologize because my fans like that I speak several languages in the talks, but today I'm going to speak only English because of the online connection. I cannot have a direct interaction with you guys. So, as introduction, we chose this sentence from Ludwig Wittgenstein. We will see it later. So, a short summary. First of all, what is KomunIKON? I'll talk about the team, the history of visual languages, the applications of this concept, guidelines and philosophy of the project, examples of iconic sentences, video of the app, and conclusion. So, KomunIKON is a project dealing with iconic communication. We are developing IKON, an international visual language through which a lot of sentences and concepts can be expressed only through icons, going one step beyond emoji. Today, emoji are used by 2.5 billion people, while English and Chinese are used by far fewer people. But emoji are not a language. Many people love emoji and try to create sentences only in emoji, but the result is something often not understandable. So we thought to create a linguistic framework that allows to recreate our natural languages in icons. How to express words such as he, she, always, cousin, language, future, past, through, season, somewhere, etc. We have created all these words in icons and many more, taking inspiration from Egyptian hieroglyphs, Chinese characters, road signs, and many other visual languages. This concept has applications much further than chats and fun communication. It can help people that cannot read, such as children, migrants, illiterates, persons with disabilities, and more, to understand more easily written messages in languages that they understand very little or not at all. For example, in airports, hospitals, websites, street signs, press, etc. Many projects of visual languages have already had significant success in certain areas or historical periods. Today, we can go back to the origins of writing, but with the power of computers and internet, reproducing images with a speed and precision that was inconceivable when writing was born. The philosopher Bernard de Chartres said, "Sumus nani gigantum humeris incidentes." So we are dwarfs standing on the shoulders of giants. The giants on which KomunIKON rests are linguists, philosophers, and mathematicians, such as Leibniz, Newton, Descartes, Mersenne, Kircher, Zamenhof, Frege, Peano, de Saussure, Ben Yehuda, Neurath, Bliss, and many others, who have dreamed of an international language for humanity or for specific purposes. In order to connect not Russians with Malawians, not Australians with Mexicans, but people with people. Now I will show a short video that introduces 3 use cases. So we begin with this Die Grenzen meiner Sprache bedeuten die Grenzen meiner Welt by Ludwig Wittgenstein. We have translated it into icons. And so first use case, 2 brothers that like to chat using emojis, but cannot, and they must use some words. They cannot write everything in emoji, but with IKON, they can chat using only emoji. They write in English, for example, in this case, and then the system proposes some translations. Second use case, video game, online video game, a child in China and a child in India. They both are monolingual. The Indian guy knows that there is a monster on the right, so says, danger, stop, don't enter, but the Chinese child doesn't understand, say, Shama. And so he enters, and his avatar is dead. But with IKON, the Indian guy can add at least an iconic translation, stop, don't enter, and the Chinese child understands, and so he's saved. Third use case, in a train, 4 languages on a sign she doesn't understand. With IKON, she understands. So IKON is a full iconic language, easy, consistent, precise, international, cross-cultural, and fun. So we have modified the original Wittgenstein sentence, and we say, when your language goes beyond your limits, your world goes beyond your limits. If you want to know more, please visit KomunIKON.com. And so this is the introduction video. Now I will present the team quickly. You might recognize some polyglots of our polyglot community. In the team, we have several sub-teams, let's say. So the management team, the linguistic team, you see here Andre Müller, the marketing, development team, graphic designers, some partners, and then advisors like Eugenio Grappa and Dimitrios Polychronopoulos that you might know. And among our academic recommendations, we also have Michele Gazzola and Federico Gobbo that you might know. So these are the sub-teams, and so this is what we have currently and also what we are looking for to increase the team. Last year, I presented with Andre Müller from hieroglyphs to emoji, the fantastic history of visual languages. You can find it on my YouTube channel if you look for Cesco Reale. You can find this one and also another one. This one were multilingual, and another one that was in Italian that I did in October in Ferrara in a language event 1, 2, 3, organized by Anna Beven that you also might know. So here I will just show an excerpt, a short summary. So we talked about the ancient visual languages, such as, for example, Egyptian hieroglyphs and Chinese. We talked about the philosophical ideas, and then we showed some modern projects like transcendent algebra, bliss symbols, logos, Yerkish, augmentative and alternative communication. There are many projects here. Pictoperanto, emoticons, Emoji, elephant's memory, Slango, VCM, an iconic language for medicine, IKONji, Dishu, and Sitelen for Tokipona. So again, this was just a very short summary. If you are interested, I invite you to go to my YouTube channel and to find the whole presentation there. So let's see some applications of visual languages. I have talked previously very quickly about augmentative and alternative communication. These are systems of communication for disabled people. This is an example. Of course, these are meant for basic communication, but there are people that have linguistic capabilities, skills, but they cannot use any oral or written language, but they can communicate through visual languages. Then we have pictograms for tourism. For example, here I show J'ai pas les mots. It's a guide in which you can find several situations for tourism, like hotel, restaurant, airport, and in icons you can try to express yourself. And Icon Speak also is a t-shirt meant with the same goal. Chat applications for smartphones. For example, Line relies heavily on stickers and icons, and IKEA produced an iconic chat through which you can discuss mainly about IKEA products, of course. So they created many icons for IKEA products, not only, but mainly. Internet sites, for example, The Guardian tried several times to translate into emoji. In this case, it's a speech of Obama. Of course, the result sometimes is very Anglo-centric, at least in this case. You can see here, for example, I want to be. Of course, it's made to joke, but of course, this is understandable only if you understand English. Then United Nations also have produced a series of pictograms. And also language learning apps, such as uTalk and Babbel, often use images to ease language learning. So let's see IKON, some guidelines and criteria. As you can see, I pronounce IKON because the written in this way comes from Esperanto, but the root is a Greek root, and the pronunciation is IKON, not icon. And also because KomunIKON, you don't say KomunIKON, so that's why I pronounce like that. So IKON, the aim is to be international, so understandable across different countries and languages. For example, you can recognize here the symbol of peace. On the right side, this is the laurel, for example, used by United Nations. This is a dove proposed by Picasso. This is a symbol that was born in an anti-nuclear movement. They became quite internationally used. This on the left is a bit less international. It's known in the Buddhistic environment. So also language international means also cross-cultural and language independent. Then inclusive, as much as possible, respectful of diversity. For example, here you can see the skin colors that WhatsApp added. And here you can see some of the possible icons for different genders, not only female and male, but also by gender, agender, etc. There are many more. This is just to show a few of them. Then human-centered. Here you can find an icon that means I or me, like that. And for this concept, as for many others, we decide to use humans. Of course, some people could say that this is not inclusive enough because you could have a tale in which a plant or an animal or an extraterrestrial say I, and so this is not enough representative. I agree. But for now, we are focusing to something human-centered. Precise. For example, here, so each icon should have a well-defined meaning, as in dictionary. Here, for example, I show the difference between hear and listen. The idea is that listen normally is something that here you can hear something even if you don't want, but in listen normally there is an active process. So we added the hand in order to emphasize this different meaning. Complete. All important meanings should be representable by at least one icon so that people could express themselves as in any language. I don't know if you want to try to guess the meaning of this icon. This requested some time to analyze all the possibilities, etc. The meaning is language. So we analyzed with the linguists and the graphic designers the several possibilities. At the beginning, we didn't have any idea on how what we might do, but then we had the idea to represent separately the spoken language, the written language, and the sign language. And so this is what we have for now. Uncensored, so no ban on vulgar, sexual, explicit, violent, and offensive icons, as in any real language. So bans can be in the forums, not in the language itself. So we don't want an Orwellian newspeak. Consistent. This is a bit technical. An iconym is a part of an icon that has a specific meaning. So if an iconym, a certain iconym has a certain meaning in an icon, the same iconym should maintain the same meaning in every icon, ideally. So here I show an example of something less consistent. For example, here you have the same trait that represents the seat and the person here. So this might be confusing, for example. And also, this green check means okay, but here they want to say avoid peak times. This is for the coronavirus crisis, by the way, in trains. So in our opinion, this would be more consistent because here we show a peak, so a crowdy train. And so in our opinion, it would be more consistent to have a negation in order to mean avoid. Transparent. The icons should be as easy as possible to be quickly understandable by most people. Abstraction should be reduced to cases in which there are not other options. One more example, still about trains. Less transparent and more transparent. So here the meaning is don't cross the railway lines. This on the right, in our opinion, is quite good understandable, quite well understandable. This on the left is less understandable if you don't know the meaning. For example, this could be a hug, or in Chinese, the character to say big is exactly this one, because it means this is very big. You cannot see me entirely, but so they say the origin of the character means big like that. Okay, so so it doesn't mean necessarily stop. Crowd-driven, so tested by the community. Particularly, we have a tool that is called IKON that was developed by the University of Geneva. Particularly Professor Peraya, that's one of our academic references. And so we want to take into account also these suggestions. The IKON so is a software with a methodology that allows to test the icons and their meaning. So, for example, in this case, I said we developed this icon to say language, and then in the software we will have testers, people that will volunteer to give some feedback and to do some tests. And so in the software, the tester will read, what does this icon mean? Distribute 100 points among the following meanings. Then you have 5 possible meanings: gestures, communication, language, interaction, or speech. And then, of course, if averagely across the testers, language gets 100%, wow, perfect. It's incredibly understandable. People, even from different cultures, understand well what we meant. Otherwise, we will have to change something. Now let's see some examples of iconic sentences in IKON. I have shown previously these two in the video. So my language limits are my world limits by Ludwig Wittgenstein. And then the second sentence is something that we have, let's say we have adapted this initial sentence. And so we said, when your language goes beyond your limits, your world goes beyond your limits. Now I want you to point out one particular thing. In this icon, you see a blue square. This indicates an adjective. I'm not going here now in the debate what an adjective is. And for example, in Italian, we talk about this is a possessive adjective, and in some cases possessive pronoun. In other languages, you don't say so, it doesn't matter. But so when needed, adjectives can be indicated by a blue square. In this case, it is needed to differentiate I from my. Then we have developed several sentences for the virus crisis, the coronavirus crisis, with translations in 11 languages. This is one of them. So stop the virus. I stay home. You can see here in the in the virus icon, we have added this yellow triangle that is an international symbol for biohazard, so biological danger. And then we have specified it with the icon of the virus. One thing also I wanted to point out, this icon is a contrastive icon. So we wanted to emphasize stay and not go out. Okay, so this is something that we use often to ease the comprehensibility of the icon. And then one more thing, we have also created some synthetic sentences. This is not in the core goal of the project, but it's something that we found also interesting to study. So the possibility to join several icons into one. In this case, you can see that in this icon you have I, stay, and home. Then, of course, we can discuss if maybe the seat is not necessary, for example. Okay, we can improve some things. We can discuss on how to improve. But I just wanted to show the concept so that we can also synthesize in one icon sometimes. One more example. I love listen music. We have 3 versions. This is in a manga style. So masculine, feminine, and a gender. So genderless, let's say. And here also we try to have the whole sentence in only one icon. And so you can see in this case that is also I love listen music. Okay, so now I show the app. I was showing the video. So you write in English in this case your sentence. The system proposes possible icons, and then you can translate. So you can have the iconic translation with a word-by-word translation. By the way, then you send it into the chat and to the other people, to the other person. And that's all. So just to finish, KomunIKON, our vision, our motto is improving communication through an iconic language. So do you want to iconify your sentences? Do you want to collaborate? As I said, we have and we look for graphic designers, linguists, software developers, marketers, and business strategists. Do you want to know more? Then visit KomunIKON.com, download our PDF of iconic sentences about the coronavirus. It's free. And contact us at info@komunikon.com. So now I'm going to see some questions. Okay, Georg Yannick asks, the example icons look very detailed. Can they be seen when they are small, or what's the minimal font size you are designing for? For now, we are considering a minimum size of 48 pixel, so square of 48 pixels. Yeah, so this is the answer. Of course, yes, in some cases we will need and we need some details, and so we cannot reduce extremely the size. Nadu asks, why do some visual symbols become international and others not? How can a visual language become internationally known? So the first question, well, there are some factors that allow some symbols to become more internationally known. In this, so for now, we are not really interested in understanding why. We just, for each symbol, we just try to understand what exists, what is internationally known, what is more internationally known, and so what we should take in order to create what we want to create. How can a visual language become internationally known? This is I don't have an answer for that. Then okay. Okay, again, Nadu, visual images often have multiple ambiguous interpretations. How can you prevent KomunIKON from being ambiguous? So in this case, IKON, because KomunIKON is a project, IKON is a language. How can we prevent IKON from being ambiguous. I have tried to explain it earlier. I have shown a slide about hear and listen to, for example. So the idea is to have a dictionary in which you can look up the meanings. And ideally, you can even check in real time, hovering the mouse over the icon. This is not yet implemented, by the way, but we have already thought about that. Again, Nadu, when do you do community testing of the icons, and where do you find testers? We don't have yet a big community. We have some channels on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. We begin to have some fans that follow us, and we haven't started the tests yet. We have the things in place, and as soon as we will have enough energies to do that, we will start also to do these tests. For now, we have done tests, but not in an academic way. This is what I mean. So there are some sentences or icons that we have tested more than 100 people, for example, having very good feedback, seeing that they are well understood, but we don't have data about these tests. So when I talk about tests, I mean something academic with the iconometer, then doing a publication, etc., etc. Oh, excellent question, Chao Nguyen. How do you deal with personal names, names of places, countries, etc.? So I'll begin with countries. Countries, we show the shape of the country with the flag of the country, and if needed, also the position in the world map. Then names of places, we don't have any other choice than show where the place is, plus adding the local name. Possibly we might add the IPA pronunciation or some other transliterations. But yeah, and for personal names, it's quite similar. The idea is that each one can have his own avatar, plus, if he wants, also the name in its own language, so written in its own language. Detlef B. Have you thought about integrated Braille in the icons? No. Braille is a transliteration system. It's not a language. It's like whistled languages. They are not real languages. They are codes. So no. But I mean, if you have some proposal, let me know. But I don't see the interest, because I don't see the relationship with the meaning. Okay. Where are the grammar and dictionary of IKON accessible? For now, they are not yet accessible. Oh, another interesting question. Kim Lam Nguyen, is there or will there be a simplified version of IKON, not KomunIKON? Again, KomunIKON is a project, IKON is a language, that can be quickly drawn by hand? I would say no, because for that, there is already a very good project that exists since the 40s, 50s, that is bliss symbols. Bliss Symbols was conceived by Charles Bliss. He was a Jew that escaped from a concentration camp in Germany. And then they went to, with his wife, they went to China. He learned Chinese. He was inspired by Chinese characters. And then he conceived, he said, wow, Chinese is beautiful, but it's too complicated. So let's try to simplify it. And so he conceived these bliss symbols that is possible to be handwritten. It was used, and it is still used, a bit less, in the augmentative and alternative communication for people with cerebral palsy and other disabilities. And so there is also the International Bliss Institute in Canada, I think, is the main. So it's based in Canada, I think. So for handwritten, you have already that. IKON, no, is not meant to be handwritten. We want to have certain details that you cannot handwrite. So for now, no. How are you going to type in IKON? Again, IKON, not KomunIKON. As I have shown in the video, you can type in a language. For now, we have 4 languages. So you choose the language, you type in your language, and then the system tries to match what he finds in the database, and so proposes to you some possible icons, and then you can choose what you prefer, and then you go on in writing your sentence. Bartos, how do you deal with the vocabulary that is intranslatable between the languages? Yeah, vocabulary that is intranslatable, I would say, as any other planned language. So you can try to compose the meanings. I haven't talked about it because I didn't have time to talk about everything. I just talked about a few things. But in IKON also, you can compose meanings, as in Esperanto, as in Tokipona, as in Ido, and many other planned languages. So yeah, you can basically join some different icons to create new meanings. So I think, yeah, this was the last question I read. So I thank you very much for your attention, and don't forget, go to our internet site, get in touch if you like the project, just to say hello, or just to ask questions, or more. So, 再见, la rivedere, taleme, hygienete, valete, a presto, gis.